We are back on Morning Line. Our guest is Josh Horn with the Social Security Administration here in Middle Tennessee. If you want to call in, if you have a question or comment about your benefit. You know, the last caller was interesting. We were talking during the break. She's dealing with a stroke and is frustrated she hasn't qualified for disability. What is interesting is they look real hard. And as I mentioned to her, her disability could worsen. But the truth is, her disability initially was at its worst right after a stroke. And you say in stroke cases, oftentimes, as she said, she couldn't talk, maybe couldn't walk. Now, clearly, as she called us just now, she sounds very intelligent and articulate, and that's improved her talking for sure. And so maybe the level of disability then, the doctors look at it and say, well, she continues to improve as you can recover from a stroke, right? And maybe she had, now I don't know if she's recovered to the point where she can still work at a restaurant as she was.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. What Social Security does is contract with state agencies called the Disability Determination Service, and so we send over to get our medical decisions over there, and they have doctors on staff, they have examiners on staff that gather medical information and make those medical determinations, and they look at several different factors. Your education. If you're highly educated, you're a lot more likely to be able to return to work. They look at how long this disability is going to last. They look at what you did in the past. So you may not be able to do the job that you just finished doing, but if you had a job prior that you could go back to doing, then they're going to look at that. They look at your age. You know, somebody who's younger is going to be able to learn a new job, go through vocational rehabilitation. If you're 60 years old and become disabled, it's probably a different scenario. You may not be able to. And it's the combination of those things that they put together with the assistance of doctors to make the decision. And so sometimes it's not always real clear up front, but when you dig down and you look at those personal notices, hopefully that clarifies it a little bit. All
right. Well, let's get back to the phone calls. We got some lines open, 737-7587. Questions about disability, the application process, all that. We can handle it. Let's go to Lucy. Hi, Lucy.
Hello.
Hey, how can we help you, Lucy?
Well, I'm sort of mixed up. In my mid-90s, I've been drawing Social Security for many years. 2 years ago, I sold some property that had gone commercial, and I've got a letter about how much I'm being cut back on Social Security, and I don't understand all of it. I wonder what this letter means. It's Part B, IRMAA is. What does that stand for?
Yeah, okay. That's a great question, and it's something I could have led off with at the beginning of this show, because this is another thing that hits about this time every year is the income-related Medicare adjustment amount, or the IRMA amount. And so a lot of folks are getting letters. Basically, they look at your tax returns from a couple of years ago and determine whether you should be paying a higher amount for your Medicare based on your income level, based on your adjusted gross income from a couple of years ago. And we have a lot of folks who, well, I had a really good year in business, or I sold a bunch of property and I had a higher income that year. And they end up having to pay a higher amount for Medicare for at least a year. Now, we do have what they call life-changing events that will allow us to use last year's tax returns instead of 2 years ago, which is the norm. For example, if you lost your job or if you retired, and so you had a life-changing event, then you can request a new decision for the IRMA amount. And I'll throw out the form number is an SSA-44. So if any of you feel like you might have a life-changing event, divorced, married, adopted a child, lost a job, things like that, and it's all listed on that front page of the SSA-44, you can actually go online to socialsecurity.gov and just type in the search field SSA-44, and that'll pull up that form for you. You can fill it out and send it to us. We can get a new decision on the IRMA amount. However, if you don't have one of those life-changing situations, then that's just kind of how it is in those situations. Okay, so with her though, because she sold some property, has more income, they've seen that. Then her Social Security will remain the same. I assume she's on full Social Security. Right, the Social Security. She may have to pay a little more on some of the Medicare. On Medicare, and so if you draw $1,000 in Social Security and $134 is how much you pay for Part B every month, but then all of a sudden you had a good year a couple of years ago and had higher income and so forth, then you may have to pay a higher amount for Medicare, which drops your your Social Security amount or the amount that hits your bank.
In a way, yeah.
Because you're paying more for Medicare. Your actual Social Security didn't change. Your Medicare premiums is what actually changed.
Okay, and that's because she had some income from the sale of this property that went commercial, and that happens. I hope that helps you on that, Lucy. Let's go to Linda next. Hi, Linda. Hi, Linda.
Hello. I have a question. When in January, there were people got raises and people did not get raises. What was the difference that everybody didn't get a raise?
You mean the cost of living increase?
Yes.
Some got it and some didn't. Okay.
So the only thing that really comes to mind, because everybody got a 2% increase. Some people saw it and some people didn't. And what happened is in years past, and for the past several years, Medicare may have gone up more than the cost of living, and we have a provision called hold harmless, sometimes called hold harmless, sometimes it's just called a Protection Act. But basically, we're not going to decrease your benefits because Medicare went up. And so they adjusted that, and they adjusted that. Well, if ever it comes back to where you can actually, how to explain this, that you can you get an increase so that we can actually start paying more closely to what you're supposed to be paying on Medicare, then they're going to go ahead and take that. So, for example, if your benefit amount was $1,000, and for the last several years, if we had been charging you the full Medicare amount, your benefit would have gone down to $950 or $948 per month. Well, we're going to protect you. We're going to keep paying you $1,000, and we're going to adjust your Medicare amount. We're going to shrink your Medicare amount. But because everybody got a 2% increase this year, and Medicare didn't go up, we're going to increase the amount of Medicare that you're paying now more closely to what everybody else is paying, because to try to make up ground for when we were holding you harmless and when we were protecting you from your benefit going down. So your benefit amount shouldn't change, but it probably won't go up because now you're paying more closely to what you're supposed to be paying for Medicare.
And that's not everyone.
That was clear.
That's really tricky. Yeah. I mean, I don't. Linda, does that kind of make sense to you? I guess you're someone who maybe was paying less, and now that you've gotten this increase, they have to take it out of that, so you won't get that increase.
Yeah, well, I didn't understand why that the last 2 times that we've got raises, mine didn't move, and then some other people's didn't move, but then some people got like a big amount of raise.
Right. 99% of the time, it has to do with Medicare. It has to do with some kind of provision with Medicare, and did they change their Part D providers so that they're actually paying less for their prescription drug plan? Did they did they have some kind of situation where they weren't, they were able to actually take the cost of living amount where yours was going towards paying the Medicare premiums? Every year it's real tricky, the balance between the cost of living increase and the Medicare premiums increase and how that affects. And everybody's situation is a little bit different.
Sure.
So I hope that helps explain it a little bit.
Yeah, it's tricky, but some people will not see that, will not have that problem, and will get the increase. Again, the increase this year was so small. See,
if you have an increase, if you have a question about your specific benefits, give us a call. Say, hey, I know everybody got a 2%, but I didn't see it. Can you explain how how the 2% affected my benefits? And we can look it up and
pull up the file.
We can look up your specific case and say, well, actually, your Medicare, you have Humana, or you have this, and this is how that changed, and so this is why your benefits didn't change or did change or whatnot.
Might be something to think about doing, Linda, if you want to get more clarification. So we just can't call your record up here on the big show. We'll take a break on that note. When we come back, we can take more of your phone calls. If you want to join us, we've got some lines open. 737-7587. Josh Horn with the Social Security Administration can answer your questions about just about anything with Social Security. We'll take a break and be back with more right after this.